Hello, Catastrophic here. Today we're going to be learning about dialogues, how to make an admin panel. Now, here's some of the basics. We got dialogues, we got dialogue items, which you go into buttons and labels, and more. And I'm going to go over their uses. So you got the visual part of the dialogues, and you gotta make code for what they do. Alright. So let's get into it. Like these. Alright, so starting from scratch, let's get into it. Let's go to triggers. Right click, hit new element. Don't do that. Just go to new trigger. Call this UI start. Alright. And for the event, do map initialization. I'm going to make an action. This is going to be create dialog. Alright. Now this is when I'll show you this in Paint. So basically what we're going for is we're going to have this admin panel. This is the dialog, this big rectangle. And within it we are going to have dialog items, which are going to be these squares. And there'll be buttons, basically you'll see they will do things in the game. And in the top right corner we're going to have an X to close it. We're also going to have a button, probably somewhere over here in the game, that you use to click to open the admin panel. This is, admin panel. You can set it up so that only you can use it, and it could be useful for testing or whatever you want. And you can add all different kinds of buttons into it. There's this way. You can also just do text commands where you type in a command and it creates an action from that command that you put in the text. But this way is visual, is more visual, and it's just kind of a demonstration of what you can do with dialogues. Alright, so we're going to have variables. Let me switch this. Variables. And those are going to be the dialog variables. There are going to be two of those. One is going to be for the button. Alright. So this, how it basically works is this counts as one whole dialog. And then we're going to have a button all the way over here in StarCraft. And that's going to count as a dialog. That's going to open the panel. That's why it says one for button. And then there's going to be dialog items. And we're going to make an array, and that's going to have 5. That's going to be for the 5 buttons here. And then 0. 0 is actually going to be for this button right here, because that's going to be additional. Alright, and here is what we need. This is the dialog dimensions for the panel. We got 500 by 800. That's the width and the height. And it's going to be at minus 500 by minus 140. Centered. And I'll show you what that means. Just insert these in here real fast. 500 by 100. And minus 500 and minus 140 relative to the center of the screen. Alright, so basically what this is going to do here is going to, first off, when you create a dialog, you have the option of doing non-model and model. I always just keep it on model. I don't know the difference between the two. Alright. So you got model, here's the width and height, it says the parameters right here. Offset X and offset Y, that's within your screen. So negative 500, negative 140. If you imagine it being set, anchored, so that's the next parameter is anchor. Anchored to the center of the screen. It'll be right here in the map. It'll be, let's go, terrain. It'll be right here. Now if you start putting negative numbers, it'll be up and to the left. So it'll be up in this region right here. Right here. These offset parameters. If you do positive numbers, the dialog will go right and down. So I'm not 100% sure exactly which one is which. Again, Y goes up and down or left or right, I can't remember, but you can mess with those. Center of the screen, you can do, these are all self-explanatory. You can do bottom, top, left, right, you know, here, 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 here. But for now we're just going to do center, because we have preset coordinates. Alright, after that, let's go ahead and make some variables. Let's call this dialog. Let's call it dialog admin panel. Okay, type dialog. Right here, this is the type of the variable. Change it there. Copy paste that. Let's make a dialog. Dialog. Yeah, open button. And keep that as a dialog still. I'm making one more. It's going to be type dialog item. Let's call this dialog items. Make an array of 5 for the 5 buttons. Okay, let's copy that. Now this is going to be a boolean because we're going to make a revealer. One of the buttons is going to reveal the map, and the boolean is going to control it. It's going to switch it from revealing to taking away the revealer, so you'll be able to see the map and then you won't be able to by clicking the button. Alright, so let's make a revealer. Make that, call that revealer B for boolean. Make a type boolean. Delete the array, leave it at false, it's fine. And one more revealer. Let's call it revealer. This is going to be a type revealer. This is going to be a variable that calls the actual revealer that's created. Alright, and no array for those. Okay, now let's create the buttons. So do create dialog item, go all the way to button right here. Actually, let's create just a label first. So create label for dialog, let's create dialog. That's going to be this dialog that we made right here. So we don't need to worry about that. Just keep the dimensions. Anchor to the top. So this is going to be right here in the game on your screen. Offset 25 by 25. You don't want it to be 0 because it will be like at the very edge, like right here your dialogue, and it'll look like crap. It'll be on the border. It may not even be readable. So 25 gives it a little gap from the edge. And it's actually, you only just need one of these. One of them is going to bring it left to right. I forget which, but I'll just do both, just for demonstration sake. So text, we're going to make this, let's call it admin panel. And you can select the color of the text right here, whatever you want. Let's just make it green. Don't have to worry about that. Alright, next, now we're going to make the dialog item buttons. Okay, so with these, let's make this 150 by 150, the width and the height, so it's a square. for last dialog. Anchor to top left, offset 50-50. That's good. Okay, so now tooltip. Basically, let me explain here. So a dialog item is either one of these: label, image, checkbox, button, achievement. You're mostly going to use probably labels and buttons. That's all we're really going to be using in this. But they're basically things that you can use within the dialog. And the dialog is like the whole thing. It's like the background and the interface, the UI, the user interface. That's what we're creating, is UI. Alright, so this dialog item is type button. Now for a button, you have the parameters tooltip. So whenever you hover your mouse above the button, it will show this tooltip. It creates unit, creates a zergling. So when you hover above it, it will show this as a tooltip. But we're not going to have that. That's if you want to. Now the hover image, you can set that to any picture or image. This will be the image that displays around the button when you highlight it. Default, it will just make the button glow or light up a little bit to show that you're hovering above it. But this changes that to whatever you want. Alright, so the button text, this is what's important. So for our first admin button, we're going to be creating a unit. So I'll just call this create and copy paste, set variable. And we're going to go to our dialog items, the first one. So it's going to be the first. Set this to last created dialog item. So see, this goes to the last created dialog. This goes to the last created dialog item. It's setting this variable, this dialog item button, to this variable right here. Now that'll be the first one. Now what we need to do is we're going to create 5. Let's just create 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. I just copy pasted the variable with the button. I'll just quickly just number these each: 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright. So how this works is, if you can imagine the width and the height, 150, it's about like 150 pixels going from here to here or here to here. So we need to add 150 to the offset. That way the button goes from, I'll show you an image, goes from right here to right here, and so on. Keep adding 150s until you get them all in a row. In fact, they'll end up looking more like this. They'll be right hugging each other like that. So let's go ahead and add that 150 to each. It was this offset. The Y offset, I think, is up and down. So 150 plus 50 is 200. So it's 50 before. Here, I'll Control Z. See, it's 50. So you gotta add 150 because that's the size of the button. So we're basically trying to, once again, I'll just show you, get it, the second button from here to right here, so they're not overlapping. And when you just add the size of it to itself, you get 200. You're going to get just another button right next to it. Okay, so then add 150 to 200. You got 350. Let's keep doing this. 500. Next one. 650. Alright, so you see what I did there. 200, 350, 500, 650. And you'll see how that looks in game. So let's change these names real fast. Create. The next one we make is kill. Okay. And the next command will be on that reveal. And I'm just gonna emphasize the on in this to show that you can click it twice to switch it. That'll basically reveal the map and then turn the revealer off. There'll be a switch button. Alright, this will be teleport. And this one will be, we'll call it enemy. That will give a unit to the enemy. And there will be no units in the game at first. We will create them all from the triggers. Okay, so that's we need one more here. Copy paste. Create show hide dialog right here. This will basically show the dialog. Otherwise it won't show. You have to use this action. And you can also show it to specific players if you want. But this is just going to be a single player game, so I think that's all you need for now. There. So let's create a new trigger. Let's call this dialog item or dialog button click. Add event. This event type item or dialog item is used. Right here, don't change any of these. Just go straight to action. Do new element. Call if then else. This will basically, what this action does basically is it has its own check, its own condition, and then an else. So if whatever this is true, it'll do then. If not, it'll skip that and it'll do whatever's else. Usually I just use I just use then and if, not really this. So what we're going to use the if for, we're going to go to dialog items. We're going to use one from dialog items. What do I want to do there? My bad. Do dialog item is used. Or use dialog item. There we go. And then make that the variable for the dialog items. Make that one parameter. Alright, now we're just going to copy paste this 4 times. Change the numbers just like the buttons. So basically what we got here is when each of these buttons over here are pressed, see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it'll activate whatever is within these, the then parameter of this if then else action. So if we press 2, that's the kill button, I think. So then we'll make it kill a unit. If we press 1, it'll create a unit. So next what we need to do new element and local variables, call this unit group. Right now, call it selected units, because those are the units that we're going to be messing around with. I don't know. Affecting. Unit group. Type. Click on empty unit group. Select selected units. For player, you could just do player 1 in this case. If you have multiple players in a game, you can do triggering player. This is a very useful parameter or function for a parameter because it's very versatile. You can use it to call whoever uses the button. So player 10 could press this and it would only affect him. You just have to change all the actions so they follow that, if you know what I'm saying. Alright, so now let's make a action for the first button. That's create unit. So create units, create one. We're just going to do Zergling. Create 3 Zergling, make it 3 for player 1. We'll skip at player 1. To the point, we're going to do camera, that's right there. Camera target a player. So what this calls is basically the center of your, wherever you're looking. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. So it's create 3 Zerglings at wherever you're looking at. And you can change wherever they're facing. You can change for them to ignore being placed. That'll basically place them, I think, inside of other buildings or units. And then if they walk out, they can't walk back in, but it will just ignore the placement. Alright, the next one, I think it was kill. So search kill unit. So for this, we're going to a variable. Or no, we're going to do picked unit. So what this is going to do is copy paste this. I'm going to kill the picked unit. Now we need to determine what the picked unit is. So pick each unit and unit group. So this will basically, this command only calls for one single unit. So what this will do is we put in this actions, it will now call for whatever all units in this group are, and it will kill those units, the picked unit. So we're going to pick each unit in our variable, selected units. I mean you can do that, or you can actually just do this right here. Select units for player 1, however you want to do it. I mean with a variable you can change whoever that is, and that'll change all the other commands affected. So yeah, let's just stick with that for now because we're gonna use it more. I'll get back to reveal. I'll just copy paste this right here and right here. Now let's change this. This will be the teleport command number 4. So move unit instantly. Move picked unit. So that will basically not just do one random unit, because if you just do, if I just put this here and you do move, I think you can do unit, it'll be unit from unit group, unit 1 from unit group, selected units. This will choose only one unit from whatever units you have selected, and it'll teleport that one unit. So with this picked unit function right here allows you to do all the units selected. Alright, so the point, we're going to do camera target right here, pretty convenient, it's right there for player 1, camera target for player 1. Okay, now the last one, this is going to be a change owner action. Change owner, because we're going to be giving the unit to an enemy. I think 15 is default, enemy type by default. Change color, you can choose to retain or change the color. Either way, it will change their alliance or the player. And so let's make this picked unit. So once again, all units selected will be changed to player 15 when that button is clicked. Alright, so those are the 4 commands. Now for number 3. This is our revealer. Okay, Set variable. Let's make that, copy paste. Now let's get the create revealer for player 1 with an area. We want the entire map. So this will create a revealer, right? There's two different options here, and see, reveal. There's reveal area, which just reveals an area, 0 being permanent, like it says here, or you can do 3 seconds or whatever, a minute. I'll reveal the area for that specific amount of time, and then it'll go away and it won't ever come back. The revealer, it creates basically like almost like an invisible unit, I guess, that reveals whatever area, be it the entire map or just a region that you created. And you could destroy that revealer later if needed. And you can disable it, which doesn't destroy it. But in this case, we're just going to be doing create and destroy. So, let's just delete that. Create revealer for player 1. Set the revealer to last created revealer. And then we're going to set variable. That's already on it. Set variable. Set variable boolean, the revealer b to true. Alright. We're going to have this. Forgot one more. Right here. Check the revealer boolean if it's false. If it's false, then it will set it to true right here. Alright. Now, let's create a new element in the else section, which we will be using else this time. Set revealer b to true, or no, to false. So next time it comes around, this will be set to true, so it will skip then because it checks for false. Yeah, it will be true. It will skip then, it'll go to else. Then I'll set it to false, and it will destroy revealer. Destroy the one we called in the variable revealer. So basically, you click the button, it checks if the revealer is false. If it's off, then create revealer, set the revealer in a variable, set the revealer boolean to true, and it'll just continue the command. It won't do this. The next time you press the button, it'll check it, it'll see that it's true this time, so it'll skip all this and it'll go straight to else. It will destroy the revealer and set the boolean to false, thus creating a switch just from this right here. And that's all from just clicking a button. Alright, so now I created all our admin commands. So let's just make a variable folder real fast so keep us organized. Have this called trigger folder. Real simple folders, just for this small thing. Okay, I'll delete that. So now we're going to create the button that closes the dialog. So I just copy pasted these two, made a new one, make the 0, click on the button here, and we're just going to put in a little X, just like this. And you can even make it red if you want, whatever. And we'll have it anchored to the top right. right? And I think with an offset of 15 by 15 is what I normally do. So look like a little Xbox you press that closes the dialog, so that you don't have the admin panel there forever and it can get in your way or whatever. Make the dimensions smaller, something like 35. Let's do even like 25 by 25, something small. No tooltip, and that's it. So that's going to be dialog item 0. Now whenever you have an array, you put 5 in the size, but actually it can go from 0 to 5. 0 to 5, or 0 to 10, whatever number you put in there. So there's actually 6 different, if you saw my tower defense map tutorial on my other channel, Industrial Gaming, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So I'm not going to fully explain it here, but yeah, there's 6 parameters within the number 5 because of 0. So we're going to use 0. I just fucked that up. Hold on, let me try. Hold on. Let me just set this back real fast. Whoops. Variables, huh? Okay, 1, 2. This will probably be edited out, maybe not. Well, you see now, if you change that array like that, it'll fuck your shit up. Just watch out for that. So now we got number 0. Now let's go back to dialog and button click. Let's just go back up here actually. So it's organized 0 through 1. Add a 0, and let's just do hide dialog right here. Show hide. Make this the hide visibility. Hide the dialog admin panel, not the button, but the panel for all players. Or once again, if you want just one player, you can do what you do is convert player to player group. In player group, this is the player. So player 1, 2, 3, 4. But what we can do is do triggering player. Once again, the versatile function. This is whoever presses the button. It'll basically hide that for them, and not just not just one single player or all players. It'll do the specific player that clicked the button. But for now, we'll just do all players, just because there's just one player. Oh yeah, now we need to make a button. So let's copy this. Let's make this relative to the right. Keep these at 0. And let's just make this isn't going to be big. Make this width 100 by 50. Yeah, oh, and then we need to set this dialog admin panel. I want to slow down for a second. So I basically make another dialog. That's going to be the button right here. So I copy pasted this to here, and now I'm setting the variable for the dialog panel, and now the dialog button needs its own variable. See, dialog button right here. Last create dialog. Okay, now let's create a button for that. So we'll actually need to create one more dialog item actually. Let's just make a separate variable. Let's call it dialog open button, or dialog item open button, because that one's already taken. Let's put that next to it. Put that one next to that one. Keep it organized. We just leave the array, delete the array because it's just one button. And it's not going to go away, it's going to be permanently affixed to the screen. So, within this one command, creating the button that opens the dialog and the dialog itself. See these two within just one command, one trigger. So, let's copy paste these, put it right here. Bring this down, make sure that how this works is when a trigger executes, it starts from the top and works its way down. So that's why when you see a button, the next action is a set variable. So it'll run this action, create button, and then it will set that variable. So you see it runs in order: create button, set the last created dialog, which is the dialog button, as in that variable. Set button, create button, set variable, create button, set variable, create button, set variable, and so on. And the show, you can even put that anywhere, just as long as in front of the dialog. You put it right here, it's not going to work. In fact, we'll actually need to do another one of those and put it right here for the button. I just realized that. But yeah, that's how that works. That's how the trigger processes the actions. It goes through them from top to bottom. So I'm going to create this button and put this above that. Or no, that was correct. Put that right there. Okay, now let's make this dialog item button. Make sure it's dialog item, not the dialog. And it's a dialog item open button. Okay, that's the right one. And that will be the last created dialog item. Create a button for dialog. Last created dialog. This will be the button that opens the admin panel. And you'll see all this in a second, how it will look in the game. Call this admin. That'll be the name of the button, or the name on the button. Let's anchor it to the top left. Height, width. Let's copy whatever's in there, so it'll be 100 by 50. That's basically the size of the actual dialog. So the dialog item will be the same size of the dialog item and the dialog. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, and then go all the way down here, copy paste this, delete this. What do I do? Okay, so let's use dialog, change this to the button, go to then, new element, and we do show hide dialog. So show dialog admin panel for all players. And that's it, I think. So basically, when you click the button, it will show the dialog admin panel. So to summarize, this trigger will execute when the map starts. That's what this event is. Which, by the way, you'll have to watch my other videos when I explain more in detail events, variables, conditions, and actions, if you don't know about those. This map is just assume that you know about those for this tutorial. This tutorial map. and then it'll basically create the button and the dialog that it opens right here, and it'll show it and create buttons on it with a label, and that's just all the visual, right? So this is the use when dialog item and button is used, or just dialog item is used. It will well, there's a variable for selected units, and you got all the 5 buttons, including the number 0, which is the X that closes it, and then you actually got the 6th button down here, which actually just a button in its own that opens the panel from the dialog. Alright, so let's do it. And let's see what we got here. Okay. Close that. Alright, well, our button is crunched, so we can't really do that. But here's our X, you see. So we can actually move that a little bit more. See, it's on the border, what I was talking about. So you can move it a little more in, so it's not in there. I don't know, it looks a bit more neat. This is off of the panel, so that looks a little weird. You see, when I hit create, creates the Zerglings. And when I hit kill, it kills them. And this is whatever selected units you have. So I can select 2 of them and kill them. I can select just 1 of them, and I can select all of them. So that works. Now we got the teleport. That seems to work too. See, it moves to my camera center. And then we got enemy. It turns into an enemy. So that seems to be working too. So we can turn it so it turns into enemies. Create some more, have them attack them. Alright, then we got our reveal, unreveal. And there we go. So you can see on the map right here, when I click it, reveals everything. And you can just see in game as well. So it's a switch. And one thing I forgot to do, before I forget, go to triggers, go to dialog button, click, make new element, we'll call this turn trigger off. And it turns the trigger off to go all the way down, have it turn it on at the very end. What this does, it basically prevents you from clicking on it, like double clicking, and that may mess things up sometimes depending on what kind of trigger you have, because these buttons can glitch. So if you make it off and then on at the end, it prevents that from glitching. I always do that with buttons. Like, for example, if you're trying to make a button where you click it and you create a hero, you don't want them to double click it really fast and make 2 heroes, because that could break the game if you have 2 heroes in a game where you're only supposed to have 1. So you do that on and off, and then you have a condition that says you're only supposed to have 1 hero or whatever. Then it will properly start the trigger over. It won't execute it twice without checking the condition. The second time, the condition will be run through. So that's why I do that. On and then off, or off and on. So I go to X, test that, close it. This isn't, we gotta just fix that. Triggers. We just need to make that a little bigger. Fix the height, make that 100. And we'll just make this 150. Change that with this. 50. 100, and let's just test that. Alright. So, okay. I mean, we see the button. Let's just test it. Bam. And let me just fix that real fast though. Top left. Oh, okay. It's the offset. Let's make that 0. Just like that. Go back. Go. There we go. Admin. And your admin panel, so you close it and open it. And you got your admin commands. I'm going to fix this so this doesn't overlap like that. They're kind of trashy. You can just you can increase the size of this. That's the height. I think if you set it to 900, that'd be plenty. From 800 to 900, that will fix that. Alright, there you have it. That's the admin panel. Create 2 admin commands. There's a lot. It's very versatile. You can do anything with it. You can make other different commands. Like in Cave of Blood. I don't have an admin panel, I just use commands because there's so many. I can put in my freeze command, which will make a unit not movable. Like you can't move or have any abilities used. So you can do that, like freeze. You can click it, make it a switch so it freezes it on and off. To do that, you would detect whether or not it has the behavior. If it does have if you're using a behavior, that is, to freeze the unit. If it has the behavior, then remove that behavior. If it doesn't have the behavior, then add that behavior. That's how you make a switch for that. Other commands you can make are AI commands, like send wave. So say if I wanted like a send wave command, it would create, you can make it create 5 different kinds of units over here and have them attack, charging in, and attack your base if this was like your base or whatever. I mean, you can even have like an end game command in here. Or another one is kick players. You can have like kick player. You can make it a button that you press that just says kick, and then it opens up another dialog using what I showed you. Make it open up like right here, and just have a list of player names. And I'll show you that real fast. Just make a new trigger. Yeah, this is just to show how you do that. So create dialog item button, and for the text, all you would do is you put a name of player, and you would just do name of player 1, and for however many players you copy paste this, you know, doing that list like how I showed you. You know, say if it's 4 players, you change all these, you know, player 2, player 3, player 4, and so on if you have more. So you create a list of players' names and their buttons, and there already you can just call those buttons, you know, if you do the button click, and then all you gotta do is create an action, just kick from game, and kick convert player to player group, bam, kick player 1 or player 2 or whatever, and just have that connected to that. I'm sure you can figure that out after what I showed you how to do that, but you just make another dialog, and that button that says kick would operate like how the admin button does. It would open that dialog, and you could create another X in that dialog that closes it. And maybe that could be a project for you to figure out. But you get the idea, I hope. So, I think that's it. Just name of players, and you click on it, the button, and it just kicks the player. And if you want, you can make an if then else command. Somewhere you put this in, you have status of player, and you'd have to see if he's playing. So if he's actually in game still, if player 1's playing, then, or let's just do like left the game, then you do, whoops, that was condition, action. So I guess this is like a bonus I'm showing you in this tutorial. Show hide dialog item. Bam. So you can do hide that dialog. So if there's no player, you can hide that button so it doesn't show, you know, an empty button. It will hide it. So then if player, you know, if player 4 has left the game, it'll not show this button. That will not be there. And yeah, that's how it works. Hide, you call the button from your variable right here. And you can do it for, you know, once again, whatever player. Alright, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed watching. And you can use this in your game as a debugger, or just for an actual map usage, like some kind of God mode game, or really anything actually. You can even use it for other things like anything, quests, all kinds of stuff.